It's a privilege to be here, first on behalf of the World Agroforestry Institute, ICRAF, for which I serve on the Board of Trustees. Most of us are actually in Bonn, so I was happy to have been the one left behind, and the privilege to be able to be here to say happy birthday to AWARD. 10 years, and that certainly is no easy feat. As Patricia said, I chair the board of the Wanjira Mathai Foundation, which in many ways is a startup. And that 10 years seems so far away right now, but clearly this is a great milestone. We're honored as ICRAF to host AWARD, and this has been certainly one of the initiatives that is affiliated with ICRAF that reminds us of why it's so important to focus on the root causes of issues. I say that because my mother herself, Wanjira Mathai, was an agricultural scientist, and many people actually don't know that. She didn't study environmental science at all, but she was an agricultural scientist, and in many ways that predisposed her to the work that she did that eventually was recognized around the world. And she always told me that there's something special about scientists. We always think about why. What is the root cause? Why is this happening? Why are these issues affecting us in the way they are? And whatever the issues she was dealing with at the time, she always came back to why. So in her case, for example, she was looking at, believe it or not, ticks in livestock. And in the course of understanding and collecting ticks from cows, she realized that the landscape was degraded, and that there was something about the landscape's degradation that was connected to the state of these livestock. And her understanding of that issue was very connected, the ticks, the livestock, and the landscape. Fast forward to the 70s, when she was then representing university women at the conference when women were preparing to go to the women's conference in Mexico. And she heard women talking about their issues. Women around the world were caucusing around what the issues that they cared about. And in Kenya, they were caucusing as well. And women from rural areas came and presented issues to the caucus that she felt should not really have been issues. They mentioned issues of food, water, and fuel insecurity. And she thought, why would those issues that were not really an issue for her as a child be an issue today? And she directly connected that again to the degradation of the landscape. And that was the beginnings of the Greenbelt movement, and the rest we know is history. But even as AWARD is looking forward for the next 10, 20 years, I love the idea that was mentioned earlier, I think, that it is not really, Joyce, you mentioned, or Judy, you mentioned that it's not really about what we've achieved, it's how we look forward. I'm also honored to be the chair of the Wanjira Mathai Foundation that is looking at the future of our youth. In 2 years or 3 years ago, the East African Institute did a study, it's the East African Youth Survey, that released some results that were startling to most of us. One, 80% of Kenyans are under the age of 35. And I think this was a trend that was seen across the East African region. A majority of them are extremely optimistic about the future. But they also said that corruption is a legitimate way of doing business. And so here is an extremely contradictory situation that faces the largest 80% of our population. And immediately the Wanjira Mathai Foundation decided that our mission will be to build character and personal leadership in young people starting from the age of 10 years old, that they might have an aspiration for things and a future that is based on character attributes like resilience and grit and personal leadership that are indeed the predictors of long-term success. And as I was reading about AWARD and AWARD's achievements in the past, and certainly as you look into the future, I also remembered a conversation I had with an impact investor who was in Kenya looking at the opportunities for agricultural, agribusiness essentially. And she called us at the Wanjira Mathai Foundation and she said, could you help us trigger conversations among young people about agriculture and agribusiness. And we said, why is this of interest? She says, we have an opportunity to grow agribusiness in Kenya and in East Africa, but we have no young people interested in this sector. We have a huge opportunity, demand for macadamia nuts and avocado and all sorts of other agricultural produce, but we have no one who is interested. How do we interest? How do we trigger this conversation amongst young people? So here's a challenge for the next 10 years for AWARD. I think the opportunity to interest and invest in young people getting into the sector could be one of the biggest opportunities for agricultural research and agribusiness. I know for sure that for us at the Wangari Mathai Foundation, as we build on non-cognitive skills and help our young people begin to aspire to sectors that are not traditional to them, that we will hand them over to you as you grow the next sector of agriculture and agricultural research. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be here to launch the next 10 years and to celebrate the last 10. Thank you very much.